So Hillary Clinton just gave a speech tonight. She gave it at a very logical time. Good thinking on her part. She has just won a majority of the states that we knew she was going to win. The states that are undecided so far, Massachusetts, Colorado, Minnesota, are more important in terms of and Oklahoma, who's going to win them, we don't know yet. But she has the momentum. She's won all these southern states. She comes and gives a speech. Great, no problem with that at all, right? Her speech was the emptiest speech I've perhaps ever seen. It was filled with fill-in-the-blank platitudes. And the American people can do better. And we have to work together to go forward. It's almost identical to the Bill Clinton speeches from the 1990s. But honestly, it's very similar to the Republican speeches, too. That's not a diss on her for not being progressive. That's not connected to this. It's just that they all say empty things like, I know that the best days of America are not behind us, but ahead of us. I know, dude, I got it. I've listened to that same speech 1,000 times. Now, when over the last week, I've been looking at old tape of Hillary Clinton and what she's saying now. And I used to think that there was a possibility that Hillary Clinton, maybe we made a mistake in supporting Obama over Hillary Clinton, because now that we know, with the benefit of hindsight, we know that Obama was, not really very progressive. He largely did Republican proposals, would give concessions even before the negotiation began, offered to cut Social Security preemptively to the Republicans, among 100 different things, right? And so I thought, well, I don't think Hillary Clinton would have been much better, but maybe she would have fought harder because she's a fighter. So maybe she would have been marginally better than Obama. I've now come to the conclusion in this campaign, no. She would have done at least the same exact thing as Obama, perhaps been even more conservative. The reason is, I thought there's some chance that she's done all of this in an effort to get to the top, and that when she gets to the top, she'll go, you see, I'm actually the Hillary Clinton who worked for the Children's Defense Fund, who fought for those kids, who fought for African Americans, et cetera, in the beginning of my career, right? I'm that Hillary Clinton. I just played this game for 40 years to get to where I needed to be. Now I'm going to kick some Republican ass, and we're going to get some progressive. I thought, look, is it a 10% chance or 20% chance? There was some percentage chance. Looking back at old tapes, I now think there's almost no chance that that's the case, right? As I saw, not just on African American issues, but as I saw, again, all of the things she said about race, not just the super predators line and we got to bring them to heel and they have no conscience, no empathy, but what she said about President Obama back in 2007. Hardworking white Americans can decide this race. They might not vote for Obama. Reverend Wright wouldn't have been my pastor, even though Reverend Wright actually was at the White House with Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. And all the loaded words she used at the time, Bill Clinton went to, you want to say it's not fair to put it on her, but this is all a coordinated campaign. Went to West Virginia and said, voters like you should decide the race, right? They put out, and they put out Obama's picture when he was wearing the turban and all that stuff.
Yes.
It wasn't the Republicans. We remember it wrong if you remember it that way. It was Hillary Clinton's campaign that put out that picture and said, well, look, and when Hillary Clinton was asked, is he Muslim? And she says, if he says so, that he's Christian, I guess he is.
Yeah.
And Republican didn't say that. Hillary Clinton said, if he says
and then
so.
They said about that picture, well, what's the problem with the picture? It's just that he's out and he's traveling. I've worn the native garb of many lands. I don't see why there'd be a problem.
And they referenced just wearing his native garb, okay? Yeah. And then finally, one thing I did not know.
His native garb is a lei. He's from fucking Hawaii.
That's right. And James Rucker pointed this out to me. He's an African-American activist who's been enormously successful, now saying, hey, wait a minute, you really got to examine the record of Hillary Clinton here when it comes to African-Americans. But again, it's broad on that. He pointed out a memo I had not seen from 2007 in the height of the campaign as they're leading up to the voting with, obviously Iowa coming up at the beginning of 2008. This is the heart of the campaign. Mark Penn, her chief strategist, wrote a memo saying, we have to paint Obama as not American, okay? We have to own America, that we're from middle America, we represent the middle class, and he is not from here, okay? And we have to paint him as the un-American. Yeah. So it was not the Republicans who started that smear job on Obama. It was Hillary Clinton's chief strategist.
And keep in mind that one of Hillary's strategies against Bernie Sanders in this campaign has been to bait him into attacking Obama for his non-progressive stances on certain issues. And he hasn't taken that bait. I think that he has criticized Obama very lightly on some issues, but think about that for a second. Hillary Clinton is trying to make it seem as though she's Obama's roll dog, when in reality, when it's politically convenient for her and a good political strategy for her, she's attacked him in the dirtiest ways imaginable.
Now, on top of everything we've discussed about Hillary Clinton, when you analyze her speeches, right? So there are nuggets in there that you might not pick up if you're not knee deep in politics. So after she won in South Carolina, she listed a number of African Americans who'd been killed, and she said, "I weep for their mothers." And I thought that was a really great line, and I said it in our live coverage. And then afterwards, someone, actually one of you guys in the audience, pointed out to me, hey, you know that every person she named who had died is in an upcoming state that they're about to vote in. And I noticed
You're so cynical.
I noticed, wait, there was someone really glaring omission there, Laquan McDonald. And I was like, that's weird. This is one of the biggest cases. The cop actually got charged with a homicide for shooting Laquan McDonald in the back. And I wondered at the time why she didn't mention him. And then again, James Rucker reminded me, she's supporting Rahm Emanuel. And African-American activists are saying that Rahm Emanuel should step down, but Hillary Clinton is a longtime Rahm Emanuel fan, and she came out in support of him.
That's amazing.
So he covered up McDonald's death for a year until after his election was over. So that's why she didn't mention Laquan McDonald.
Oh,
Wait,
God.
you think it's because of politics?
That is so cynical, right, Johnny?
I don't know, man.
What's wrong with this guy?
This is a news show, okay? Conspiracy theories outside, not in Studio B, maybe.
And then tonight, she talked about the Rust Belt. Now, she hasn't mentioned Rust Belt in previous speeches. Now you could mention it. It's no big deal. Why is she talking about the Rust Belt? She's talking about it because we're about to vote in the Rust Belt. So she plugs in, this goes to the fakeness, right? I'm going to talk about America going forward, not backward, and then I'm going to plug what states are coming up. All right, let's take some African-American victims and put them in, because I still got southern states coming up. By the way, there was no mention of African-American victims in today's speech. There was, though, after South Carolina, because there was a lot of black voters coming up in the southern states that just voted on Super Tuesday. Now that she's already gotten those votes, the African-American victims part of the speech has been dumped. We put in the Rust Belt part of the speech, and we go forward. And she talks about Flint, Michigan. Why? Michigan's voting next, right? So this is politics by numbers. And when you look at her whole career, and you see her going from the Children's Defense Fund, hey, very much in favor of kids, women, African Americans, etc., to switching in the 1990s and going, these super predators, they have to be brought to heel. As you watch that, you're like, Jesus Christ, if you're remotely progressive, would you really believe that? And if you don't believe it and you're willing to say something that ugly anyway, who are you?
Yeah.
Who are you? And at the end of looking at all that tape on Hillary Clinton and watching all of her speeches, my conclusion was she's a robot. She is as standard a politician as I have ever seen. Are there core values there? Like the hope that I had earlier. Maybe there's a 10 or 20% chance that once she gets into power, she's actually a real progressive and she's going to Scooby-Doo it and take off the mask and go, I'm the liberal you've been waiting for. No. There's nothing there. There's no there. It's just a standard politician who wants power, right? And so in 2008, what was her defining argument? I don't know, put me in power. And I'm not going to give you much change. Obama's being ridiculous with all this change talk. There isn't going to be any change. What's your defining issue? Now you know.
Barriers.
Obama said his defining issue was, I'm not going to play the same old Washington games. I'm going to change the way the game is played. Change. Now, it turns out he was disingenuous about that, but that was clear. Bernie Sanders says, I'm against the millionaires and billionaires controlling our politics. I'm going to give you guys single payer, free education, all these things because I'm for you and not for the guys rigging the system. It's super clear. What is Hillary Clinton for in this campaign? I'll give you time. Okay, now look, supporters will say, the women, first woman president. Yeah. Being the first woman president isn't being for something. Right? The whole thing is empty. It's just a quest, a naked quest for power.
And look,
that's all it is.
And one real quick point, she said in her speech, just to show you how bullshit and empty and fucked up the Democratic Party is. She said, so Barack Obama can nominate a progressive judge, he was going to nominate a Republican.
yeah.
Well, he got close anyway. But keeping it real, if we're going to criticize her, we got to be willing to criticize Bernie too. In his speech, he talked. We made jokes about a couple different issues. So he talked about college loans. He talked about minimum wage. He talked about wages generally. And all of those, what's the thread that ties those together? Is that those are issues that affect people. And a lot of the upcoming states have people in them. So it's kind of a cynical play, I think, that all of a sudden he cares about people.
Yeah, and that speech, you want to be fair or unfair to him, has been the same no matter what upcoming states are. He said it in the beginning, and now they criticize him for that. You said it in the beginning, you're still sticking to your guns. Yeah, that's because that's why I'm running. I got in the race because I care about these issues. They're like, the pundits are like, how unsavvy. If you were savvy, you would manipulate the message based on whatever specific demographics are about the vote. This guy seems to actually give a shit. He actually cares. What a sap, right? So now, one last thing here. So you don't think that our skepticism is based on anything other than what our experience is, right or wrong, okay? She said in this speech, now I'm, going to hold the corporations accountable, and they're not being patriotic. They're taking their money and storing it in other countries. First of all, it misunderstands the whole problem. Companies are not human beings. They don't have the capacity to be patriotic or unpatriotic. They are machines whose job is to maximize profit. Of course they're not going to be patriotic. What kind of an idiot thinks that a corporation is going to be like, you know what? You are right. I just love America so much, I'll give up profits. That is not how they are built. It misunderstands. But that's not my main point in this. She then said, but now if the businesses do the right things, we will give them support in that. Now, again, if you're not knee-deep in politics, you might not know what that means. Let me decode it for you, because I've seen that speech many times from Democrats. Or President Obama, President Clinton, Hillary Clinton. And when she was in the Senate, she would give speeches like that. And the next thing that they would do is, I had to give corporations new rounds of tax cuts to give them the incentive and the support they need to do the right thing. Don't worry, once I've given them the tax cuts, they will do the right thing, which they never do. Then they will become patriotic and good Americans and care about the rest of us. It's coded language for, I'm going to give them tax cuts. It's not based on me speculating on that. It's a long history of corporate Democrats who have done exactly that after giving that line in a speech. So now you can say I'm wrong, it's that my experience is wrong, that my analysis is wrong, and you can say Hillary, Hillary, Hillary. I'm telling you right now, based on my experience and the facts, what I think is the reality. You want to ignore that? That's fine, right? But don't say I didn't warn you. That's who Hillary Clinton is. There is no moment where she becomes super liberal and fights for these liberal policies. She is going to do exactly what the Washington conventional wisdom is. If you vote for Hillary Clinton, have at it, Hoss, but it will be for no change whatsoever. Now, if we're in the general election and she's won the primary and you say no change whatsoever is better than the change Trump or Cruz is going to give you, I agree. But we're in a primary now.